The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Save the Second or their employers. This show offers commentary on the latest news associated with the NRA and Save the Second's endeavor to promote a strong, relevant, effective, and accountable NRA.
All right, everybody, welcome to Save the Second podcast. This is episode 16, a special episode, January 6, 2020. We're going to be discussing the winter NRA board meeting, which starts in less than a week now on Saturday, September 11th. The committee meetings are going to start probably on Tuesday. Yeah, holy smokes, man. We got a lot to talk about in a very short amount of time. I'm joined today with Anthony Garcia. Anthony, how are you today, man?
I'm sick, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm not overwhelmingly talkative.
Well, you look good. I mean, despite being sick, I'm recovering as well. But Mr. Pincus, apparently you are like healthy as a horse, man, right?
I'm incredibly healthy. I'm tan. I just came back from out of the country for a few days. I spent the whole day recording for PDN down at the home range here in Florida. And I just think you guys obviously don't travel enough, even though you work for the airline. I think I might travel more than you, Ron, and that's why you guys are sick and weak.
Well, I certainly didn't travel this week, man. The flu is hitting my household hard, but I'm going to Virginia. I'm going to the NRA directors, the winter board of directors meeting in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. Guys, this is going to be a big one. Of course, we were at the September board meeting, and we didn't see really anything transpire. In fact, it was more of the same, more of the LaPierre worship. They didn't confront any of the allegations that are before them, such as, for example, Josh Powell's sexual harassment case that they settled with member dues and donations. They didn't address that. They didn't address so much. And now we're in 2020, election year, and all of a sudden we're looking at the New York Attorney General presumably launching indictments. There's so much going on. So let's talk about the what, when, where, and how of this board meeting, which is going to be huge. First of all, what's going on? Rob, we're going into this board meeting. What have you heard?
I really haven't heard much, and that's part of the thing. I was just posting an alert to let people know they should come watch the show if they're interested in what's going on. The thing is, even people I talk to that have been in the industry or in the community forever, people are active in the Second Amendment advocacy world are like, what is the deal with this meeting in January? Are you really going? Like, I didn't think anybody went to those meetings. Like the joke, half the board members don't even go. No one talks about it. I had somebody ask in the comment thread a couple of days ago, like, where can I find out about this from the NRA? I don't think you can. I don't think they post this on their website. They certainly don't do any social media. It's not in the magazine. I don't know where, if it weren't for Save the Second and other people that are out there, advocating that NRA members take advantage of the opportunity to talk directly with the directors to see for themselves what's going on. I don't think anybody else has really historically ever talked about the board meetings that aren't tied to the NRA annual meeting. And even at the NRA annual meeting, we know it's not something it's been a real focus for the membership or American gun owners in general. So we're talking about it, if for no other reason than no one else is talking about it. And I think that might be reason enough to be curious. Why doesn't the NRA want people there? Of course, my theories, and I think the evidence points to the idea that the reason we have a petition drive for them to require board members to go is obviously the leadership, Wayne LaPierre, the executive committee members that have been working with him, the people that have been on the board for decades, all the past presidents and the other cronies. There's a few exceptions on those lists I just gave, but very few. For the most part, everybody on that list benefits from certainly members not being there to ask questions or to observe what goes on. And even the board members who aren't part of that little cabal not being there. So here we are talking about it.
Yeah, it's so strange. Just trying to find an itinerary, which we ran into this problem in September when we went. We showed up at the hotel that was hosting the board meeting in September. No signs, no itinerary, nothing. It's almost like we weren't invited or cared to be there, which, guess what? If you're an NRA member, it is your right to attend the NRA Board of Directors meetings and any committee meetings. I'll pull that up here in just a few seconds for you to see in the NRA bylaws. But Anthony, what's your take, man? What's going on here?
I mean, pretty much the same thing Rob said. Yeah, it's interesting. They don't post any itinerary or anything. They specifically do not want people showing up. Now, if you ask them why, they'd probably say it's because, oh well, a lot of people dislike the NRA. They dislike us. We don't want to advertise where it is because we don't want those people to show up and harass us or whatever. Which, I mean, there could certainly be some sort of truth to that. But I think another part of it is indeed they don't, at least right now, they don't want people like us to show up and ask questions and especially they don't want us talking to board members. I know that they don't want us talking to these people. They don't want us asking them personally face to face. Well, hey, what's going on? They don't want us sitting down and having a drink with these people and having an honest conversation with them. They don't want that to happen. Rob, you said there's a joke that nobody goes to these things, not even the board members, and it's true. I mean, it's funny, but it's true. Which is really kind of sad. So we'll have to see what the attendance is like at this one. See if Marion Hammer once again shows up. There'll be a record for her.
It will be a record.
3 in a row.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And the thing is, we do have like I said, you can't find the itinerary. The fact is that we talk to a lot of board members now, and obviously a lot of board members have resigned, but there are still several board members who are interested in seeing things change, or they may not agree with exactly how we're doing it or the publicity around it or all that, but they're certainly sympathetic to our interests. And if nothing else, even if they disagree with us, there are at least a few board members that have the integrity to say, I disagree entirely with you, but yeah, of course you can attend, and here's the itinerary, and here's when the meetings are happening, here's where it is. So you can find out if you want to, but you really have to want to.
You're absolutely right. And of course, I have it on the screen here. This is Article 3, Section 6. If you go down to D, it says all members shall have the privilege to attend and be heard at all official meetings of the members. By the way, that's going to be coming up in April in Nashville. And shall have the right to attend all meetings of the Board of Directors, Executive Committee, and standing and special committees of the association, except during executive sessions thereof. Now, that's the kicker, right? So executive sessions. Let's talk about that real fast. Anthony, what is an executive session?
So an executive session is when they're already in like a committee meeting or the board meeting or whatever. They'll vote to go into, quote, executive session, and basically, it means everybody has to leave except for the board members, and all information in that executive session is privileged to only those who are attending. So there's no official minutes kept, or at least not that are publicly available. I don't know if they have them privately kept. They probably do. But basically, it means nobody except who's there knows what happens. And they're also legally bound, at least they are, being in New York, they're legally bound to not talk about what happens in the executive session. They actually be sued for it. So that's what happens. And in looking through old transcripts of previous board meetings, going back quite a long ways, they apparently go into executive session nearly every committee and board meeting. So there's really very little that we can find out, unfortunately, which is a damn shame. And it doesn't make much sense to me. But
Right. And, I've thought, I understand why executive sessions are necessary, right? Especially when you're looking at, Bloomberg and Soros and whatnot, having an agenda to try to get as much intelligence on the NRA and their plans as possible and thwart that. However, for us that are trying to be active and engaged in our NRA, it seems to be weaponized. They're weaponizing the executive sessions to make sure that we don't know what's going on. For example, when we were at the board meeting in September, they launched the NRALegalFacts.org website without us in the room. I mean, I guess it was a big to-do, and it was an executive session. We didn't know about it until the next day. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on executive session and how the NRA is going about that?
Yeah, I get it. I get that that's certainly important. I think everyone that's reasonable would understand why that's important. Not everything needs to be public. The problem is almost everything isn't public right now with the NRA, and it's been that way forever. And there's an institutional inertia around that. There's an institutional attitude around that. We saw it. It's on. People can go to YouTube and look at the responses from the many past presidents and several longtime board members to us at the members meeting in April last year, when they stood up and literally got on the mic and told members there are things they never need to know, they shouldn't know, they need to just kind of stay out of the way. We, the members, need to just kind of stay out of the way while they take care of things, and we need to just trust them. And yet we've got all these revelations that they've betrayed our trust, they've been dysfunctional, there's been probably legal issues as far as their financial malfeasance, that they've just been poor stewards of the responsibility for the fight for the Second Amendment and the representation of American gun owners. And they aren't to be trusted. The leadership isn't to be trusted. The institution isn't to be trusted. And yet they continue to go into executive session. I mean, what a moment during one of the committee meetings when Willis Lee actually said, as part of the opening statements, how proud he was of the work that was being done by that committee, and how a lot more NRA members and the general public and American members need to know what this committee is doing, because it's such important work, and he's just proud to be serving on it. And oh boy, if only more people respected and appreciated what they were doing. And literally the next thing that happened was someone moved to go into executive session, and they kicked us all out. I mean, that is the tomfoolery that's going on right now.
Oh, it totally is. And for those of you that aren't aware, Willis Lee is the second vice president of the NRA, and he's burned so many people. In fact, he's probably blocked all of us, on his Facebook page. Anytime that he posts something that's controversial or whatnot, and we want to discuss it with him, well, instead of discussing, he just blocks us and calls us what is it? He does the poof thing.
But let it also be known that the first vice president of the NRA, who's also up for re-election this year, considers Willis Lee the expert on social media.
Oh, and
Cotton.
And more on the officers. We still have yet to find a picture of Carolyn Meadows holding a firearm. It's been 4 months now. 4 months, and no one can find a picture of the president of the NRA, Carolyn Meadows, holding a firearm. Go figure. So that's definitely what's going on. Oh, we got some.
Would have had that taken care of,
right? They would have photoshopped something in there by now.
Just saying.
They probably would have, but they would have charged $20,000 for it,
and then kept the gun.
Right.
That's right. Oh my goodness.
Unless it went into like Wayne's collection. If it was a really nice gun, like, oh well, it's the president of the NRA, we had to get her a $50,000 Perazzi.
Right.
Wayne, why don't you hold this for us? Just don't give it to your assistant Millie, because she's a felon. She can't hold the gun as you pass it over to Wayne.
Yeah. Don't give her any brass either. That's still a felony as well for prohibited persons. Oh goodness. We're going down the rabbit hole. It's great. This is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun.
And if you want to have fun with us, show up on Friday night at the Hyatt Regency lobby bar, because last year what we found, we in all seriousness, we did invite concerned members and people, even people who didn't attend some of the meetings who were local, showed up, who were NRA members. They showed up that evening, even though they couldn't take off from work or whatever to come to the meetings during the day. And the nice thing about it, all joking aside, yeah, it's great. Like-minded people and American gun owners can hang out, maybe have a beverage and chit chat, get to know one another. But we also are able to engage many of the directors right there in person. And I don't expect to be any different than it was back in September or any other time that these gatherings happen. There are some board members, several board members, who are willing to talk to us, willing to talk to the everyday member that shows up and just says, hi, I see you have the pin, you're a board of director, I'm here because I'm concerned. So if you agree with us or don't agree with us, whatever, doesn't matter. If you want to talk to directors, if you don't want to talk to any of us, if you just want to talk to each other, show up Hyatt Regency Friday night, the night before the main board meeting on the 10th, and I don't know, let's call it 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, I mean, all the committee meetings will be over by then.
Absolutely.
And we'll get together.
That's a great idea. I'll put that on the Facebook page to try to get everybody in. And Rob, you're absolutely right, man. I got a chance to hang out with Mark Geist last week.
Yeah, Mark was great. Yeah,
holy. And the first time that I've had the pleasure of meeting Dwayne Liptig, and
yeah, Dwayne's awesome. I was speaking with Dwayne earlier today, just confirming he was going to be there. I was talking to some other board members. Not everyone's going to be there. Probably not even as many people as were there in September. But I think a lot of the names that people know, many of the names you already mentioned, they're going to be there. Stop them in the hallway, stop them in the lobby. Certainly coming in and out of the board meetings. Now, I expect security will be all over any member that's not a board member that's trying to just exercise their rights as an interested American gun owner who belongs to NRA. We're going to have assigned seats. We're going to be escorted in and out and watched like hawks and bullied just like we were last time. One might imagine how well I respond to that. We're not there to cause a fight. We're not there to get kicked out. We're not there to cause a ruckus. We're just going to follow their rules and put up with their attitudes. But we'll be there. The important thing to remember, again, is there are many board members that don't have those attitudes and are going to be more than willing to talk to you. And if you try to talk to a board member and they, look down their nose at you and act like they're too busy to talk to a member, well, then that tells you something. And it'll probably influence how people leave this January meeting talking about who should be voted for on the ballots that were recently sent out as well.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And for those of you that are going to join us, and please join us, be sure to have your NRA member card, your member number at least, so that they can verify your membership. Because remember, it is the right, or rather the privilege, in the bylaws, the privilege of us to attend these meetings, but only if you're a member. If you're not a member, well, sorry, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. And also keep in mind,
it's not voting member. It is important to note it's not voting member. So you could literally, if you're an American gunner, like if you're one of those people who's been on the fence, you want to get your voting rights back or whatever, and you pay your $35, $50, whatever it is, you can get a bonus coupon deal on. You could literally attend the meeting that day. Now, I'm personally of the opinion you shouldn't be putting any money into the coffers of the NRA right now, but just let it be known, any member of any standing can attend the board meetings this week, including the committee meetings.
Absolutely. Anthony, this is going to be your first director meeting. I'm curious what if you could have anything in the world, going into it your first time, what would it be? What do you want to see at your first NRA board meeting?
I mean, I could just give you a wish list of the things STS. As far as what I realistically expect might happen, that would be great. Maybe we would see more board members stand up and say something. Maybe we'd see when they try to move the meeting into executive session, maybe we'll see more people standing up and pushing for it to stay open so that we can stay and watch. Maybe they'll actually debate the petition we sent in rather than just ignoring it. Things like that I would really like to see. I'd like to have a chance to sit and talk with a lot of the board members. Like you mentioned, Mark Geist, I actually really want to meet Mr. Geist. But I would, those are all the things I hope will happen realistically. We'll see.
Yeah. And I think honestly, you're right. It's going to come down to us preparing the members for a massive stand at the members meeting in April to address the the craziness that's going on, the absolute malfeasance and corruption. I hope that's not the case. I hope that these board members that understand. Well, first of all, these board members, I believe every single one of them have been subpoenaed right now and given depositions. I believe there was another round of subpoenas that were issued by the New York Attorney General just before Christmas. Go ahead, Rob.
My understanding is actually that there are people that one would think should have gotten subpoenas who have not gotten subpoenas, and that usually means that they're cooperating with the New York Attorney General's office, that they're speaking and cooperating, and that's why their names have conspicuously been left off of subpoena lists.
Wow.
Just as another interesting note. Before everybody thinks that we're just wackadoodles out here on the side and no one is actually confirming that there's been some wrongdoing or there's some concerns about what has been going on. Obviously, the presidents that don't go for a second term, presidents that don't finish their terms, resigning board members, there should be a lot of very clear indications that there's some problems inside of that organization. It's not just us, making this stuff up in our minds, but that's also an interesting fact that's been pointed out by several people.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think something else that's interesting. Now, we have not been given an itinerary. I've searched for it. I've tried to get it. It's one of those. But I did find out that the Finance Committee meeting is going to be on Friday the 10th at 9 a.m. Okay, Finance Committee meeting Friday the 10th at 9 a.m. Two other meetings conflict with that one: the disabled shooting committee and the women's policy committee. Now, that's interesting. I believe I know who the chair is of the disabled shooting committee, which he's a great guy. I like him a whole lot. And apparently he's, as the chair, he's going to be unable to attend this. So is there some strategy, do you believe, in having the finance committee coincide with two other committee meetings? What do you think, Rob?
Well, I mean, obviously, that these things aren't done in a vacuum, right? Somebody just like we know people have been removed from committees or shifted from committees or reduced in position all across the board when they don't find themselves in 100% alignment with the current leadership. And honestly, at this point, we're talking about Wayne LaPierre and a very, very small handful of people, most of whom are just basically nodding and doing what Wayne LaPierre would like them to do. So it does not surprise me at all that there would be committee meetings that are very important for people to attend, people who have assigned positions that hold positions on the board, the chairman, for example, the secretary, whatever, you vice chairman. You've also got people who are very passionate about certain issues, like the women's committee, for example. You're going to get a lot of people who are very passionate about women's issues and have been for years that are going to be compelled to go to that, even though things like the finance committee, the ethics committee, the bylaws committee, these things are probably more important on the big picture right now for every board member to be very aware of and involved with what's going on those very important committee meetings. And yet overlapping any of those major meetings with something, no matter how trivial it is a bad idea. But especially when you have people who are in conflict with the current leadership who've been relegated only to minor committees. Setting those minor committees up in opposition to major and important decision-making committee meetings it's obviously more shenanigans.
Right. That's a big concern of mine. At a time when the NRA is, not only struggling on the investigation side of the New York Attorney General, but also on the financial side. I mean, so many millions have been wasted. And now we're going into 2020, an election year, which you would assume that they would be pumping a lot of money into the election and campaigning and whatnot. And now they've got the finance committee,
So here's what happens. You have your finance committee meeting when other people are doing other things. And then the next day on Saturday, somebody gets up and says, hey, we had a finance committee meeting. We know you all couldn't be there, but everything's great. So there you go. And then the other board members who weren't at the finance committee meeting go home and get on the internet and tell us we received a full report from the finance committee and everything's fine.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they look goofy, but at the same time, 99% of the people that aren't paying a lot of attention to it assume that board member who went to the board meetings in Virginia has come back with a full and complete understanding of what's going on. There's nothing behind the curtain and everything's A-okay with your NRA. And that's just not the deal.
Boy, you hit that on the head, man. Anthony, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I've always found it odd that they would schedule meetings like that. Okay, so I understand there's a large number of committees.
37 standing.
37. Okay, so there's a large number of them, but this also goes on for multiple days. I mean, this is a long meeting. It's not just like one day where they try to cram everything in. And there's a lot of hours in a day. Like, we can spread these things out over the whole day. Like, you're not doing other things at the same time, right? Like, you're not trying to work at your normal job and try to do committee meetings at the same time. They'll fly here for this week to do this. Okay. It doesn't make any sense to me that they possibly could have conflicting schedules. Even if they had to schedule each committee in its own block on its own day, there's no reason for them to ever have conflicting schedules. It's bizarre. I don't know if it's some sort of deeper conspiracy to keep people out of meetings. I don't know. But it certainly does seem, at the very least, to be irresponsible.
I totally agree. Adam Bryant says there are several good ones. He's referring to directors, but there are many directors that need to be voted out, and conservative people that will be transparent and actually speak up for pro to a need. Absolutely, Adam. I totally agree with you. Now, that's another issue that I'm currently trying to educate folks on. This morning, I released the first information regarding the candidates for the NRA Board of Directors in 2020, the election that's coming up. There's going to be more about that. We're going to sit down and discuss, what Save the Second's recommendations are. That's going to be a big one. And keep in mind, too, that there's currently 3 vacancies on the NRA Board of Directors. So there's only 73 directors that are even able to show up at this meeting. Now, that's obviously far more than the quorum that's needed to see stuff done. But yeah, there's 3 directors that are 3 vacancies, I should say. And there's going to be a lot of directors elected, new directors, because of all the resignations that have happened since May. Oh, man.
In one of the funnier moments back in September, as tragic all the comedy is, was the board trying to decide how many people were actually in attendance. And I think it took them 3 counts to agree. And I still don't think their number was right. So let's place our bets now. How many board members will you could decide how many board members will actually be there on the 11th at the primary board meeting, or how many board members will they say were there? You can vote for either or both if you think there's going to be a significant difference. Go.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I'm going to go with 55 directors in attendance for this meeting. 55 is my guess.
And how many claimed?
Oh, how many claimed? Oh, well, that's going to be another one. And matter of fact, that's going to be something that I'm going to be trying to check off. But yeah, I think they'll definitely not have a concern and probably claim 60 or so.
I think they're going to claim, quote, nearly all, unquote.
Yes, most, almost, except for those, all that didn't were excused.
Or
you have a number, Anthony?
As far as what might actually show up?
Yeah.
How many came last time?
Well, nobody knows, but something like 56-ish.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was mid-50s. I think it would be the same or a little less.
I'm gonna go for 50. I'm gonna go low, just based on the people based on the directors I've talked to, a couple of whom were there in September and will not be there this time. I'm gonna go with 50.
Oh man, 50. Eesh. I hope you're wrong. Now, and by the way, hey, let's shift gears real fast. I believe there's something that's happened in the NRA for a first ever since the inception of the NRA in 1871. I believe the NRA is going to hold its first ever rally, a true rally in Virginia on January 13th. Rob, are you aware of any rallies that the NRA has done previous to this one?
I'm not aware of anything that and that's, I mean, I guess we'd have to define rally, right? The nature of what they are saying they're trying to do on the 13th, I have not seen anything like that from the NRA that I can remember. I also, I'm a little, I don't know, I'm skeptical. I'll let you go ahead and talk about what's going on 13th. I'm a little skeptical that it's even a genuine attempt.
Well, I'm skeptical too. I'm very skeptical. Now, it seems like, okay, so Virginia is obviously a very, very interesting place right now. The Virginia Citizens Defense League has over 101 2A sanctuaries that they've helped inspired. Since November, mind you. So, I mean, they are kicking butt and taking names.
And to be fair, I still throw a flag on VCDL's, choreography of all that. I think they jumped on a bandwagon and are fanning the flames and certainly, trying to do the good work. But this is a grassroots effort. And I'm going to say it every time this comes up. This is people in Virginia, just like people stood up with the 1994 assault weapons ban. We didn't need an organization to do that. The organizations helped focus it and helped become like more the voice and the direction of it. But I think that's what VCDL is doing. And honestly, I think the NRA is just now jumping on their back. And remember, January 20th, the big rally in Richmond that everybody's talking about and VCDL's talking about a lot, they've been doing this for a long time, like 20 years. And it's really just a lobbying day that the Virginia legislature, the Commonwealth of Virginia, sets up for anybody with any cause to come down to Richmond and represent their cause. So this isn't just, let's not pat ourselves on the back too much. This isn't just something we're doing because of the, current legal issues there. This is something that's been happening for a long time. And it's great that we're focused on it. And that's why it's so confusing that now on the 13th, the NRA wants to do something when they should be having people come to their damn board meeting on the 11th, but they don't want to do that. So they're trying to do something on the 13th. And yet for months and annually for years, VCDL has been organizing the attendance at the rally for Lara, that lobbying day, as a 2A rally. So it's all very convoluted, I think.
Yeah, it's strange to me, and they finally put it up on their main page, the NRA's main page for January 30th. It was not up there yesterday, so this is brand new. And okay. So first of all, I'm going to applaud any and all efforts to stop anti-gun legislation. All right. So if the NRA is doing this, by God, awesome, go for it. On the other hand, I'm like, guys, too little, too late. Anthony, what do you think?
I think the timing, okay, so first off, yes, I do agree with you. Secondly, the NRA doesn't do rallies, historically speaking. So I think the timing has less to do with perhaps an altruistic reason and more to do with their complete and utter failure so far in this last election to really be effective anywhere at anything. I think it has a lot more to do with that and to distract from the current issues that are going on in the NRA than it really has to do with, again, a true pro 2A reason. But I mean, I'm glad it's happening, so can't really fault that.
Yeah, and apparently Dwayne Liptek is going to be bringing 1,000 PMags to that rally, and I'm a little mad that I'm not going to be able to partake in, in getting some mags. You know, when he did that out here in Colorado, you know, during the 2013 season, oh my gosh, that was so wonderful. I loved it. I digress, though. I'm very curious to hear more about that in particular when we attend. Guys, is there anything else that at the board meeting that you're really interested in hearing or seeing from the NRA? What do you think, Anthony?
I'm not expecting much different from the NRA. If anything, I kind of half expected them to come up with some rule change that the way they treated us in September, that it makes it, you know, even harder for us to show up in January. But at this point, we don't know of any changes, so we're just going through those motions. I would just remind everyone watching this, anyone who's supporting Save the Second, any American gun owner, NRA member is going to show up. You know, it is a business event. You know, it's not a you don't wear your boogaloo mask, and it's not there for, you know, a burn tyrants or whatever flag. It's not a 2A rally. This is for the business of the largest organization that represents gun rights on the planet of Earth. So, you know, you don't have to put a suit on, but understand where you're going and be prepared to be respectful and you know, have the opportunity, take the opportunity, please, politely and assertively to talk to board members about your concerns. But we're not there to disrupt the business of the NRA. We're there to encourage and strengthen the NRA in general.
I 100% agree, and I think, Rob, you've mentioned it in the past. Respectful irreverence. There are many people, like for example Marion Hammer, who respectfully I think she's terrible, and I want nothing to do with her. She does more harm to the Second Amendment community and the NRA than, well, just about anybody that I can imagine outside of a true anti-gun person. So I will respectfully say hi to her and congratulate her on actually attending a meeting for the third straight year in a row if she attends. But, you know, I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to call her names. There's several funny names that I can think of, but we're going to be respectful. We're going to be professional. We're going to try to engage our directors as courteously as we would hope to be received. So that's my thoughts on that. Anthony, what do you think?
No, I think you're both right there. I think this is anybody who wants to come, this isn't a sign waving sort of deal. We're not there to spread memes and call names, as funny as it might be. We can leave that sort of thing to the internet. But what we're showing up is to dress nicely and talk to people, and maybe sit and have a drink and a chat with them as well. So that's what I'm hoping we'll do.
All right, so let's talk about how people can help. All right, there's a lot of people that are going to be there, thankfully. So, Rob, what would you tell somebody that's attending for the first time? How can they actually help, or should they just try to do their own thing and be simply an NRA member with concerns?
I think that is the how you help, right? And whether it's very easy, right? It's turnkey. Print out the 5 points of reform from the Save the Second, save2a.org. Print out that 5 pieces of reform. If you support them, if you support what we've been talking about, and all the other people that support it, and the former board members and current board members and people trying to become board members who support it, if you're with us, it could be that simple. Write your membership name, your number, and your name, your membership number and name on one of those. Say, I support this. I hope you do too, and hand it to every board member, everybody with that little pin that identifies them as a board member, which we'll learn to recognize very quickly. Just hand that to them, and that's enough, right? If you aren't the kind of person that wants to have a deep philosophical conversation with somebody, because the more people they know support those points of reform, eventually they're going to come up for vote one way or another. If maybe you only support 3 of them, well, then circle those 3. Maybe you support 1 of them, blow that up, print it out, get 3x5 card. I don't care. Just let them know I really support this idea. And maybe then the next step would be, hey, I support this idea or these ideas. Can I talk to you about them? And there's going to be a lot of board members that would be happy to talk to you about them, whether they agree or disagree. And what I have found is even the board members who aren't resigning or waving flags saying we need reform and Wayne needs to go, there aren't very many things here that they could even begin to argue with. There's a lot that they'll say that would be hard to do. It'd be hard to get a smaller board, Rob, but I see your point, right? And that's how you have a conversation. So it goes from just simply saying, hey, I support Save the Second to I'm an NRA member and I think things need to change. Can I talk to you? Do you think anything needs to change? And if so, what? Ask the board member, put it on them. Do you think everything is perfect at the NRA? If they say yes, maybe don't vote for them, right? If they say, no, of course, everything's not perfect, then you can ask the follow-up question. What do you think needs to be changed? What isn't perfect? And just have a normal human conversation with these people. That's one of the tenets of respectful irreverence. None of these people are magic. None of them are scary or intimidating in any real functional way. They're just normal people, right? They have a job. They volunteered to do that job, and we voted them into position, or we allowed the circumstances under which they got voted into position, and we fund what they're doing. So just have a conversation with them. Pretend they're the girl at Starbucks, because honestly, that's about as influential as they should be, other than their potential, right, in your life. They have potential to do great work for you. Other than that, they're just the elected people on the board of the NRA.
Also, I think there are a lot of directors who are perhaps closeted in their want for reform. Now, obviously, there are directors out there that have been very vocal about that. For example, Colonel Allen West. He was the first one that called for Wayne LaPierre's resignation right after the April NRA annual meeting. So if he's there, well, by God, go up to him, shake his hand, and say, "Hey, I agree with you. I support you 100%," and give those people encouragement.
Sure, Robert Brown.
Robert Brown, by God, amen.
Buzz Mills, the owner of Gunsight Academy. There are people who have not resigned, who still serve on the board, who have made their positions very clear. Ted Nugent, who got up and stood up and said, well, how about we not go into executive session, because there's members here that might want to hear what's going on. Why do we need to do this? There are members who have been pretty vocal, honestly, and some very vocal. Oliver North, although I understand Oliver North's not going to show up again, but he's obviously been very vocal about the need for reform as the most recent past president.
Absolutely. Anthony, what do you think? How can somebody that's attending help? Is there anything that you can think that they might need to do as they're attending these meetings and committee meetings?
Besides what you guys said, I would say the most important thing, if they're attending, the most important thing is to be there, make their presence known. Like Rob was saying, try to come after the meetings, try to come later in the evening and talk to people, because that's when we really have a chance to make an effect, a chance to sit down and talk with people face to face and that sort of thing. Well, I'll put it this way. I think a lot more important decisions tend to get made after meetings sitting in bars than they do at actual meetings. I think that tends to be a pretty much an all-around thing, and no matter what medium you're talking about. And I think that tends to hold true here. So come and stay later, talk to people face to face. It's my
and that's true. And we're not going to. You will not have the opportunity. Although technically, according to Robert's Rules of Order, anyone attending a meeting should be able to ask the chairman to speak when new business is brought up, when there's other opportunities in the agenda, maybe for people who are attending the meeting to speak. However, because of the executive session thing that happens, and because of the security, hawks, and with the sequestered seating and the you'll be kicked out if you aren't in your chair kind of, baby rules they put in place, it's almost impossible I can't see a way that we'll actually be speaking at any committee meetings or anytime officially at the meetings. So it's important to again, grab the board members in the hallway, in the lobby, wherever you see them. If you see them at a restaurant across the street, they're there to do the work. You're not interrupting their lives. Their lives are that week dedicated to serving the members of the NRA. Get to speak to them any chance that you have an opportunity. Try to, not just in the evening. I would hit them coming and going in the lobby, in the hallway, outside smoking a cigar, cigarette, whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah. And for many of us, this will be very uncomfortable. For example, people that are attending for the first time that have concerns, they don't know where to go. They won't know where to go. The NRA won't provide that. So they're literally going to be showing up, looking around, out of place, uncomfortable. Folks, if you see me or Rob or Anthony, Andy Lander, of course, will probably be there on Friday, Saturday as well. Hey, grab us, hang out with us. Let's go together. We are concerned NRA members. Now, granted, of course, we formed Save the Second to try to spur the NRA to do something, but holy smokes, we're in this together. It's the NRA members, and so grab us and hey, let's figure this out as we go. Let's go to these committee meetings, find out where they are, what they are, who's in them, who's the chair, what's going on, what's the business. Let's learn together and try to influence the NRA positively. Oh goodness, we lost Rob. Well, hopefully he'll be back.
He was already lost. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's so good. No, it's going to be interesting to say the least. Now, again, for those of you that are attending that aren't exactly sure where to go, the meetings, the committee meetings are going to start on Tuesday. Who knows when, who knows where. It will be at the Tyson Regents Hotel. I'm sorry, the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. That's the Hyatt Regency in Tyson's Corner. That's 701 Tyson's 1, Tyson's, Virginia. Zip code is 220. Goodness gracious, 22102. I'm starting to feel that medicine wear off. I'm gonna have to get some more Dayquil.
Yeah, dude. Geez, you need to go take some more NyQuil or something, bud. That's 7901 Tyson's 1 Place.
Thank you,
Virginia.
Thankfully, it's scrolling across the bottom.
Yes, the Hyatt Regency Tyson's Corner Center is the name of the place. It's right at the intersection of a whole bunch of highways, right next to Dulles. Can't miss it.
Now, let's talk about people that can't attend. There's a lot of people that wanted to be there but can't because maybe it's too far or they don't have the time off or whatnot. Anthony, what would you tell those people that cannot attend and want to help?
Okay, so first of all, don't beat yourself up for it. Save your money and come to NRAM. If you had to pick one of the two, NRAM is going to be way more important, and trust me, you have to be there. So first of all, that's okay, save your money. Second of all, if you can't attend, continue, I guess, to contact the directors. We don't know how much of an effect it's making. And yeah, I think that's just about all you can do with this board meeting. Other than that, plan to get to NRAM. That's where we all need to be. That's in Nashville in April. There's a whole website the NRA sets up about it. Just search for it online, you'll find it. That is where we need to all show up. So don't worry too hard about this. And the reason we all need to show up at NRAM, we talked about this on one of the last podcasts, is because as members, we get our own meeting there and we can actually pass stuff and make things happen. Things like a change of leadership, stuff like that. So really, really important that we actually go. So again, save up your money and go to NRAM if you can't make this meeting.
Yeah, our campaign, the 76 and 76, or hashtag 76 and 76 is wrapping up. Tomorrow's the end. And so if you have yet to email or snail mail any of your directors, please send a letter to NRA BoD at nrahq.org. That's the supposed email address for the board of directors. That email address is printed in the American Rifleman NRA magazine. So hopefully it does good, but please write your directors, encourage them, implore them to confront these issues, not just bury their heads in the sand, but actually stand up, have the integrity and the courage to confront the problems and the unfortunate demise of the NRA thanks to the failed leadership that is currently in power. Oh my goodness, folks. I think that's going to wrap it up. Let's look at the comments real fast and see. Oh, look at this. 76 Seuss says he cannot wait for NRAM. Oh my goodness. I love that man so much. Mr. David says directors who are involved in lawsuits may not be able to attend, obvious reasons. That's a very good point. That's probably why Colonel North is probably not going to be there, which is unfortunate. Yeah, folks, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. Is the lawsuits could have a very negative effect on attendance. We'll see, and all those subpoenas and stuff that just went out. We'll see. I wouldn't expect Ollie North to show up anyway, even if even if his situation was a little better. But
you know, I mean, that fella is a crayon eating jarhead, by God, and I just want him to roll some heads. I mean, okay, that's me just wishing that wishful thinking. I have a respect for Colonel North and any Marine, by God. So yeah, there is a part of me that wishes he would just kick down the door, breach bang and clear, and clean house. Yeah, but yeah, that's me being overly optimistic. I won't be overly optimistic, but by God, I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that the NRA is accountable to the members of the NRA. So, folks, I think that's an excellent way to end. Yeah, I usually sign off with the quote from John F. Kennedy. If you haven't heard that, go listen to it. There's so many different sign-offs. Instead of signing off in some glorious fashion, I'm going to ask that you shake my hand, or if I'm still sick, just give me a fist bump, okay? But be there. Let me see you in person, and thank you for trying to be active in your NRA this weekend, this Saturday especially. And with that, folks, we will see you then.